Hey everybody, this is Ryan with Rigs of Death Metal. Today my guest is Simlev of Krokmiten. What's up, dude?
Hey man, how are you?
Doing good. Well, man, so because we're so gear centric, first and foremost, we'll get through all the nerdy, fun stuff, talk guitars, amps, whatever, especially the signal chain for the most recent recordings. And then we'll get into some songwriting and ideology kind of stuff, all the super nerdy stuff.
Good. I'm all in.
So what was your main tracking guitar for the new album?
The main guitar I'm using is a guitar I designed myself. I bought the wood, all the parts, uh, everything. I made the plans and I gave it to a luthier, a guitar builder locally, and he made it for me. I was looking for something very specific for recording. Uh, at first, I wanted to get a headless, maybe a Strandberg. And I went to NAM 6 years ago and I was super excited to try it. And when I tried it, there was some stuff that was annoying me. Ah, for instance, I wanted, had high hope for the lap curve thing
Hmm.
because I wanted to play like this. And I don't know, the way it's made, it was kind of sliding off my lap. That kind of explained why I never saw anyone online playing with it. So it's a nice concept, but it for me it didn't work. So
Gotcha.
I was really bummed out. So I said, okay, I'm gonna take a Strandberg and I'm gonna, like, in my opinion, make it better. So I redesigned the curve for the lap to grip better, and I changed a few stuff. I didn't really like the under neck thing, so I I went with the specs of an Ibanez uh, Wizard One neck, super thin. So, and I didn't like the curve for the armrest curve, so I had that more like an RG, Ibanez
Okay.
RG. So basically, it's a mix
Hmm.
of like I make it specifically for what I wanted. And since I've been recording only with this, I can show it to you.
Sure. Awesome. Yeah, I saw that in your playthrough video for Theta, and
Yeah.
I saw the carving there by the fretboard. And I was like, okay, that's not a Strandberg. What is that? And that was actually on my list of things to ask you. Yeah, it's beautiful.
So it's also neck through. It's what the luthier called a semi neck through. So it's neck through all the way half. So, but this part is one slab. I actually
Huh.
bought the entire 6 foot high slab of wood. That's walnut.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing I wanted is I wanted just one pickup. And Strandberg only make one guitar with just an humbucker. It's the Paul Masvidal model,
Yeah.
but but it did not have a trem, and that bugged me. So basically, this is out of necessity what I wanted. Another thing I didn't really like where they put the jack, so I put it in the back
Gotcha.
because I play and I record with a Line 6 relay wireless.
You actually
So
record you actually record
yes, I record
wireless.
with it, and
Huh.
that way, when you look at it from the front, you don't see anything, and it's out of the way when I play here.
Okay.
The other thing is, when I recorded some of the previous albums, sometimes I would just, without knowing, the tone was rolled off, and I was like, okay, what's wrong? And I'm looking everywhere, the volume is a little rolled off. And after that, I got the tick of always checking. I'm playing and I'm always checking. And you see people do this something, always checking
Yeah.
the volume. I said, you know what? No knobs, nothing. It's straight
Huh.
signal. And you hear the difference. It's it's a direct signal, and it makes a gives a little something extra.
Sure.
So basically, that's what it is. And I had a bunch of other guitars, like you can see in the back, and basically now I just play that.
Hell yeah.
So, so that's the main guitar I use. Otherwise, for the rest of the signal chain, um, everything goes in
Okay.
an Apollo X4.
Nice.
So the signal is first it goes in a splitter, and the tuner, there's a tuner out on this one, a switchblade, so it goes on a chord tuner. I figure that that's one of the tuner that I play in drop A. So I don't know, some tuners they just struggle with the low A, and I've found that this one just reacts super well with that type of tuning for the low tuning.
Hmm.
So after that, it goes into a mimic pedal, TC Electronic, and I double the signal there, left and right. Then it goes out in stereo. One of the output, one of the side goes into a brainwave pitch shifter. That's what I use for my solos most of the time. I add a seventh on one of the side, a high seven, because since I'm tuned solo, I don't have a high E string. When I play, I want to have the sound of the IE string without it.
Okay.
And when I'm not playing a lead, well, it goes in stereo in front of the Apollo,
Mm-hmm.
and that I record the DI, and that's pretty much it. And I play in stereo. So everything you've heard on the last album, let me just everything you've heard on the last album, it's only one. I tracked only one guitar.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I didn't double track, I didn't quad track. So it's
Interesting.
except when you hear a lead, now it's a something else. But I record two track in stereo with it, so it's all the. I don't think you could tell that I didn't track, so it gives a super tight sound. But if you would just record one, it's too thin.
Yeah.
That way, it stick like you. And actually, there's a switch on the mimic, which you flick it up, and it just simulates two tracks on each side. So it doubles
Oh
on
yeah.
each side. So like it's like I'm tracking quad,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not. I'm just tracking once.
Hmm. I have to try this now.
Yeah.
You know what? I have a Kemper and I'm pretty sure it has like some similar stuff in it. Like I think it has several different kinds of doublers built into it, and
hmm
I've not really messed with it too much. I need to look into it. At least
I,
try to record something with it.
I've heard some tests on YouTube.
Hmm.
For me, it was not convincing, but
Yeah.
maybe I could like mess with it until I figure it out. But for me, it was not enough.
Gotcha.
I've tried as a doubler on some of the neural DSP
Hmm.
plugins. Yeah, that too, I was not convinced.
Interesting.
That's for me the solution. I don't know, except on a processor like the Kemper, or I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe I'm sure the Axe FX has something similar to. I don't know. I didn't try it out, but for me that was working,
Hmm.
and that's I decided to track the other album. I tracked it like this too. The fourth album, Toe. Uh, yeah, that's about it.
Nice. I have heard of some bands, especially ones that record like live room. They'll
hmm
capture a DI and they can kind of rework that back into the mix to substitute for a second guitar. Like if they only have one guitar
Oh,
player playing live, uh,
hmm
just some studio trickery with the DI. But
hmm
yeah, I haven't heard of anybody like recording straight up with a doubler like that. I've heard it used a lot in live situations, Uh,
That would be great live, I think, in two different amps. Because once I bring
yeah,
the DI in Pro Tools, I put a plugin called THU from Overloud. I don't know if you heard
yeah,
of this.
yeah. I've seen those.
Yeah, so I it goes in stereo, so two different rig I built on the rectifier
Okay.
with each have a different boost in front and two different cab. One is a Mesa, the other one is an Angle, just to make it like emphasis the stereo effect.
Hmm. Okay.
So that's what I'm using now. But for the next album, I'm already like I'm going a similar but different direction. Um, still gonna use the Mimic, but I bought two Tone X pedal.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try to. I need to make some tests and to work this out because one of the problem I noticed when I don't know if, how you recorded your album, we can talk about it after, but um, it's always the latency. You know, you struggle with the latency, and as I work on the album, I'm mixing at the same time. So I've got a lot of plugins. So I'm making the mix as I go, as I record everything. So I've got stuff on my mix bus. I've got the limiter on the master bus. I've got buses everywhere, tracks.
Yeah.
So to record without latency, I would need to basically disable everything.
Hmm.
I don't know if you had this problem.
Since I've upgraded my computer, mm, sometime early last year,
Mm-hmm.
really haven't had too many problems. I had an older PC prior to that, and
Okay.
yeah, it didn't play well with a lot of modern plugins and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Um,
I hear it.
but yeah, honestly, I've kind of set a lot of things. When I first got this, I tried it out with some different plugins like bias effects and uh clairvoyant from Modern Metal Songwriter, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. Everything, any latency is negligible to where it doesn't really affect my playing too. You know what I mean? Um,
Was your session very heavy on processing?
uh, I do. You know what? I have one session that is. Most of them, no. Most of the time, it's like a couple guitar tracks, couple bass tracks, and then like maybe a dozen tracks for a drum program, like some kind of drum VSD. I always run Easy Drummer
Mm-hmm.
whenever I'm writing. I do have one session that also has a lot of orchestral kind of stuff. So I'm running a lot of like Spitfire,
Mm-hmm.
MIDI kind of instruments.
GSTIs?
Yeah. And I'm also using an amp plugin for that. And even using bias effects in that, it all seems to hold up pretty well. Um,
I had problems. So I decided, you know what? I cranked the buffer size to 1024.
yeah.
I disabled the monitoring in Pro Tools. So the tracks I'm recording, they're muted. And I run at the moment the Angle Savage in stereo that is running on the DSP on the Apollo.
Okay.
So that way, the zero latency because only the audio interface is sending directly to the monitors. They don't even touch Pro Tools. I just record the Pro, and then even if there's a lot of latency, let's say there's too much latency,
Yeah.
once I finish recording, Pro Tools put it back where it should be after I there's a switch somewhere. So I
Gotcha.
can just do whatever I want. Tons of plugins on the session, and there's zero latency. The problem
Nice.
why I'm bringing in the Tone X pedals is because I'm recording with the Angle Savage. I like it, but it's not a rectifier. I like the rectifiers. So I was okay. I need something. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the Tone X pedal to monitor, So what I'm going to hear is the Tonex pedal, but I'm
Hmm.
also at the same time with a splitter recording the DIs.
Gotcha.
And on this, I can put the Tonex plugin that is going to be exactly the same time. So I want to record with the same sound that I'm hearing. So
Right.
yeah, that is going to be on the album.
Gotcha. Okay. Um,
But there's some wiring I need to figure out. I need a splitter, so it doesn't fit in my rack. So now I build everything here I can. So I need to build some sort of thing. I want a drawer where I can put everything. It's hidden because now they're always full of, and my daughter, she just plays with the knobs sometimes. And it's like, okay, why something doesn't sound this? So now I take pictures of everything. And every time I'm going to record, I need to check in with the pictures. All right, does it matches?
sure. Honestly, I need to get into that habit myself. Like taking pictures of
Yeah, that's how I
settings.
recall my stuff. I take pictures of everything. I've
Oh
got a
yeah.
folder of pictures with dates on it and albums, and
Right,
just
right.
I hate losing stuff. Or it's like my sessions, Pro Tool sessions. Every move, significant move I make, I save as a new session. I'm because I work in the music industry and the software, so I need to find ways to not lose anything. I hate wasting time.
Um,
So that's it.
those,
That's the chain. It goes in Pro Tools, and I do the same for the bass. I've got a dark glass pedal for the bass.
I saw that.
Hold up, you put some light. It's dark here. Sorry. So up there,
Yeah.
dark glass pedal. There's a tuner, chord tuner. I've got a heavy metal and a loop switcher. That
Hmm.
if I want to do something, but I never managed to make it work in a mix for some reason. It doesn't really fit with what I do and the tuning I have. I don't know. Maybe I didn't try enough.
What's that? The HM2?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I
they're
love the sound, but it doesn't work
yeah.
with what I do in my playing. And I don't know how to EQ it in the mix, or I tried to make a little part with it. It just didn't work. It was just muddy and weird. And like,
Yeah.
how they
Have you,
figuring this out?
have you ever have you ever tried kind of recording like an HM2 tone as its own separate kind of guitar track and kind of just blending it in underneath?
No,
Like
I haven't.
I I've heard a lot of guys have success with that. If they don't want to
Yeah,
go
I know
with
some people they just parallel blend it,
yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah, just to give it a little bit of that
yeah,
chainsaw tone. Yeah.
right. Just kind of dirtied up a bit.
But the thing is, I feel like when you use an HM2, you basically need to shape your whole sound around it. If you just want a straight HM2, the drum, the bass, everything needs to
Oh,
support that
absolutely.
sound. And me, I'm trying to cram the HM2 sound into my sound that I already
Right.
have, and that always fail. I would
Yeah.
need to completely change the sound of the bass. Uh, I don't know, maybe that's something I'm not willing to do in an album, but I wanted just to do this a little fun tryout on YouTube. After 2 days of messing with it, I just like, oh, fuck it.
They yeah, they're an animal that needs tamed a little bit.
I
Um
love the sound when I play along with it. It's
sure.
great.
I've kind of gravitated towards a couple different ones that have like some kind of like the pedals have some kind of blending option. Um
Like the Eye Master, the Grindstein, and
yeah, like I got one. It's have you seen the Medusa from Lichtlerm
no,
or Lichtlerm? It's a German it's a German company. Um got it behind me. It's yeah, it's
yeah, okay. I saw
yeah.
that around.
Yeah.
I like the design.
Oh yeah. It's I guess it used to be called Breathe slash Die. And he kind of revamped it and it's got like it's got a ton of options. You can make it sound like kind of a more modern, slightly nasty, saturated kind of distortion, or you can
Hmm.
make it sound like a full blown 90s Swedish death band, with the
Yeah.
full
And Gene.
chainsaw. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, and you can, it's got like a side loop that you can run another pedal into it and blend between the two.
That's cool.
And I've messed with like some fuzz
Not that
pedals.
many pedals do this, a loop that you can blend in.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like I would just throw the gnarliest fuzz pedals and just gross stuff I could find like in my collection here and kind of just find a sweet spot between the two sides. And uh,
Hmm.
I've also used it to like a rectifier tone, like a boosted rectifier tone, that very tight, very articulate kind of thing, and just
Hmm.
a little bit of chainsaw, just enough to almost like create like these nasty sort of almost like overtones. You know what I mean?
That's what it does, basically. It
Yeah.
brings overtone in places that you would not normally find it. Some
Yeah.
kind of engine sound. You hear some.
Yeah.
And
uh,
that's weird because I heard so many videos of I love YouTube. I'm always on YouTube.
same.
So I heard a bunch of comparison, and right away some I can tell, nah, it's not there. Nah, it's not there. Is this like just a slight, I don't know which frequency it is, but there's some kind of engine
Yeah.
that if it's not there, you can hear the rest, but there's like that little frequency that's missing sometimes. And I say, oh, if you can't do that, that's not a clone. It's just
Right.
something else.
Um, Going back to you using the dark glass pedal, because you guys have some pretty awesome bass tones and
Thanks.
recorded bass tones are something I kind of struggle with sometimes.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah, despite the fact that when I've played bass in bands, whether jamming or playing out, like, fill in gigs, whatever, live, I've always been able to dial in a really awesome, well-rounded bass tone that fits in the mix perfect. For some reason, it's a struggle when I'm recording. So, you don't have to go through a mixing tutorial or nothing, but what's
Mhm.
like your signal chain look like for when you're tracking bass? Is it all the pedal, or are you doing a DI as well, or what all do you use?
I record the pedal directly,
Uh-huh.
and after that, I process it on the track. Uh, I cut a lot of mids.
Yeah.
Basically, it's just bass because look, I can't really teach anything on mixing. I'm doing what I can, so I'm not a mix guy, and I don't have that much experience. I just have a sound in my head. I'm trying to make it. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not. On the last one, I'm pretty satisfied. So what I can talk about how I did that is basically you have two choice in death metal because when you have a drummer that like John Longstreth is doing 30-second note kicked at 270 BPM, it becomes a big, just a frequency, it's just a rumble. So you have two choice. You give the bass to the kick or you give it to the bass guitar.
Yeah.
And in this case, I give it to the bass guitar. The kick doesn't have much bass. It's more the beater sound. So if you sacrifice the low part of the kick and it's not gone, it's just lower than the bass. The
Yeah.
bass is kind of the lead of that part. And the bass I scoop, the mid, there's basically nothing there. It's just
Okay.
the low end. And I put a high pass filter on the bass strategically until it's not too much. And I scoop after like 200 something, 250. I mean, there's nothing there. And I bring back the high around 9K. I put a big bump
Okay.
just for the grind, the
Yeah.
pick and pack because sometimes I play with the pick, sometimes I play with, but for the string attack, I bring it there. So if you would look at it, it's basically an arm reverse. So let's on your side that the bass is there, very big. Then there's a huge dip, and then I bring back up. So the challenge for me is that part, because if you bring it too much, it just ruins the guitar. And for me, I always mix with the guitar in mind. That's a guitar album. Of course, the rest is important, but my guitars is basically, once I make the sound in THU, I don't touch it. Never. I made a sound. Okay, I commit to it. That's the sound of the guitars. The rest is gonna have to fit around it. Like
Gotcha.
I said, for the HM2, I'm not willing to do it for the HM2 because I don't. It's too much of a. It's a big
Sure,
job.
sure.
So yeah, that's what I do for the bass. But I put a limiter on it. I like the L1. For some reason, it just works. It's punchy. It's direct. So that I use also a lot the SSL plugin, SSL native plugins,
Okay.
which is kind of the sound of death metal.
Yeah.
Most albums were made in the Mars Sound Studio with a big SSL console with SSL gear. So
Right.
instantly, when you play with this, it's like, oh, okay, I have a feeling of familiarity to. It's a sound we all know. We don't
Yeah.
know what it is, but once you play with that, it's like, oh, okay, that's so. It's pretty easy, I feel, to nail some sound you want with those tools. That's my experience.
I I have a a random recording nerd kind of question. And it probably
Yeah.
sounds dumb to people that actually know recording, but whatever. Um, I've been using a lot of the have you seen the brand Analog Obsession? It's like a lot of free
No.
VST. It's a lot of free VST plugins that emulate hardware.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some SSL stuff, and there's also a Pultec EQ that I
Mm-hmm.
actually really like a lot on the master bus.
It's
Um,
cool. It's also simple, not too much stuff. It just
yeah,
mix the right frequencies.
exactly. And because I'm such a noob hobbyist when it comes to engineering, like I love it. I think it's the coolest shit. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I go through phases where I'm deep diving more into recording stuff than I am guitar. Um,
Yeah.
Especially because doing the page, I'm so like over encumbered with guitar amps, pedals, all this,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. It loses its mystique after a while, but
Yeah.
recording is still kind of fresh. But the pool tech, it's yeah, like you said, simple, it's fun, and sounds really cool. Like it's one of those. It's almost kind of hard to make it sound bad. I mean, you could
Mm-hmm.
get real extreme, I guess, but I don't know. It's just fun.
One
Uh,
trick I can give you:
yeah.
once in a while, listen to it. Close your monitor.
Okay.
That helps because we're visual animals, men, and you mix with your eyes,
Yeah.
especially today with meters and all kind of graphs, and it's easy to get lost in the visual. Oh, I can't just boost that much. Look at this bump, it's too much. Yeah, maybe that's what it needs. Or, oh, this deep
Sure.
is too 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 deep, maybe like that looks wrong. You don't know, but your brain tells you, oh, that's too extra. Oh, I cannot just turn everything to
Yeah.
10. Oh, maybe that's what it needs, or maybe that's not. So once in a while, you make some move and close your monitor, not your studio monitor, your computer screen, but
Sure. Yeah.
and then you listen to it, and suddenly it sounds different. The
Gotcha.
other thing is go extreme just to, and then bring it back. I do this all the time. And okay, yeah, I could go there, and then you go there. Okay, that's too much. Then you bring it back down slowly. It's like, oh yeah, okay, it's right there. It's easier when you make bold moves and then bring it down after.
Gotcha. Uh,
I'm an hobbyist too. I mean, I'm not trying to mix anyone. I'm not looking for gigs. I just mix my own stuff. Now I'm starting to look back at my old mixes, and I want to like do a George Lucas and redo them.
Nothing wrong with that. We
Yeah.
yeah, we tend to critique our own work through like the worst lens. So like I'd go back and listen to, you know, some of my older recordings through different projects and I just absolutely pick it apart. You know, some stuff that like with other people, I'm like, man, I could have done a better job. or
Yeah.
you know, stuff that like some of my first recordings, and I'm
Hmm.
like, I had no idea what I was doing. Like this is glaringly wrong. Like what?
Yeah.
Like why did I not catch this?
I've heard one of your EP from the Nephilim Fall. What it's called? It's 3 tracks.
Yeah.
I call to the void, internalize them before death. Is that your latest one?
No, no, that one was from I think it was 2019 is when I put it out. So
Did you mix it yourself and record everything?
I did. Um, the only
Pretty
thing,
good. I
thank
like it.
you. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. There's some weird technical issues. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there's like some weird popping
And
and stuff like that. Like it was some way I had my computer set at the time that I didn't
mm,
know. Um
sometimes it's the driver is unstable.
Something like that. Like that was my old computer,
Mm.
which it was a 2015, 14, 15 model.
I
Uh
didn't notice anything wrong, so
well, I
I
appreciate
guess you figure it out.
it. Yeah. And then like little things like I think I made the vocals too loud. I wanted them loud, but I did but I think I overdid it. You know what I mean?
That's one of the thing I struggle with is the how loud to put the vocals because I like the vocals when they're treated as a another guitar,
And they
but
kind
people
of
don't like
yeah.
that. People don't like that. People say, hey, I can't hear the vocals. Yeah, I want to kind of bury the. If if it's too loud, sometimes I feel it sounds like goofy or something. But when it's
Yeah.
just at the right sweet spot, on this last one, I put them just a little louder than I would normally do. I don't know. Some people say, "Oh man, it's the best vocal you ever done." Yeah, it's just because it's louder. It's exactly the same.
I think that's honestly that's the secret. That like get it to where it's get it to where it's blending in like one of the other instruments and balanced across and then just bump it just a little bit to where it just stands out.
Yeah,
It's like um do you know Paris Mayhew from the Cro-Mags?
yeah, I know the name.
Uh so um he was the guitar player and depending on who you ask, the main songwriter. I think most
Mm-hmm.
people agree. It's one of those bands that has like a lot of muddy waters, right? But
Okay.
so anyway, he also did a lot of studio work, not just for them, but other bands, and eventually went into filmmaking and stuff like that. But um he was actually recording the band Marauder, which is
Mhm.
another kind of metallic hardcore band, and they didn't like some of the choices he was making at first,
Okay.
like while they were in the studio. One of them being making the vocals louder. They're like, "What are you doing? They're too loud." And he's like, "Just shut up." He's like, "You know,
Sounds
listen."
like yeah.
Like
Was he the singer?
Paris, no, Paris wasn't. He's not. He was never in Marauders. He was like working as an
Oh, he's a producer.
engineer.
Okay, okay, I'm mixing stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, he's not known for that. So,
because I would say it's LSD, lead singer syndrome.
right.
Never give the fader to the lead singer.
That's fair. But yeah, he just got hired as an engineer for that record. And
Hmm.
so the band was like, "Oh, the vocals are too loud." And he's like, well, "Listen to Metallica, you know, listen to you know, listen to the Metallica's Black album. Listen to, you know, naming off all these big hit albums. Like, what do they all have in common? Like
Hmm.
the vocals are loud. Like that's like any big successful album, the vocals are kind of loud comparatively. Like they stand out. I think I think it's kind of like what you were saying. Most people, I think it's just what they're used to hearing, maybe. They're just kind of conditioned for the singer being out front a little bit.
Yeah, the drawback to me is that the vocals they eat up the guitars a
Mm,
lot. If you take what is the Morbid Angel album, World Disdain, something,
hmm
I can't listen to it because the vocals are so loud you can't hear the guitars. Every time he starts singing, it's just the guitar's gone. It's just in the background, no definition, nothing. Another album like this is, I think, is it Kill from Cannibal Corpse? The vocals are so loud, it sounds like a cartoon. It's just like bring it down a little. But it's just my taste. I mean, some people they love this, but I would say in pop it's probably 100% right. That's the
Yeah,
main thing. But in death metal, like when people pretty much don't give a shit what you're singing,
yeah,
you can't hear it. It's not like I want to hear the chorus. So
right.
it's just another growling guitar on top of other growling guitars. Anyway, but at this point, it's a matter of opinion, and
Well, see, that's
I did it.
actually. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's just I decided to go a little louder this time. Uh, I like it that way, but just a few dB more would be too much to me for me. Just between what people would want and what I want.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, like you were saying, like vocals kind of working as just another tonality in the wall of sound, or kind of
Yeah,
treat it like another instrument. That's how I always describe like whenever I'm talking to somebody that's not a metal fan, and that you get the inevitable question like, you can't even
yeah,
understand what they're saying. Like, why do you like that?
yeah,
I'm like, because like I don't care. I don't care about lyrics. I think it sounds cool that he's doing that, and it sounds cool paired with these super distorted, low tune, really fast guitars. It all sounds cohesive, like it goes together to me. Uh,
yeah.
and it's like I might look up the lyrics, or might read through the lyric sheet if I, bought the album, or whatever, and
Mhm.
or like a lyric video. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, these are pretty sick. Like these, you know, super super metal, very brutal lyrics, and most of the time doesn't really matter who it is. Most of the time, I kind of forget about it. I might remember like a specific line, but that's about it.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's so not important
Right.
that the third album I made, Hita, there's no lyrics. The entire album is just I just made gibberish. Nobody really noticed. Nobody said anything. It's the one with the playthrough video. That was my scat track that I made to write the lyrics over,
Uh-huh.
and I kind of liked it. The intensity was there, and I
Sure.
decided after working on the album and everything over the months, I got used to it, and I said, you know what, I'm just not gonna make any vocals for this one. Nobody noticed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Um, Going into let's talk about songwriting a little bit. I think we pretty much covered a lot of the gear.
Mhm.
But as far as songwriting, I see experimental death metal kind of thrown out a lot for describing your music, and I imagine a lot of people initially will think, okay, so this is going to either be a very progressive, like a very cynic,
Mhm.
or the faceless, where it's like lots of kind of genre bending transitions, or might just sound like real off the wall voivod kind of riffing. And arguably, I guess there's maybe some moments that it could, with some dissonant chords and stuff like that, you could argue that. But when I hear your all's music, it's it's experimental to me in and like some cool different sort of tonalities for sure, but it is still undeniably very, very death metal. Um, so
Yeah.
in your words, what how would you define the experimentation in your music?
I I don't see the experimental side as one specific album. I see it as the whole collection, the whole thing. If I don't know exactly what you've heard so far or you watched, but the whole thing is an experiment. First, you mentioned Voivod. That's my number one uh, inspiration. In '88, when I heard Dimension Atros, my life changed. That and Justice for All, Metallica. I heard that, okay, I need a guitar. And Justice for All is I wanted to do the chugging.
Mm-hmm.
And Voivod is like, oh shit, I can do that. I can do weird stuff like this, like weird song, weird like time signatures and weird chords and dissonant notes and solos. Like, it sounds like he's doing all the wrong notes and it sounds good. So how bad can you? I thought at the time it's like he's probably not very good. He's just like playing random notes and it sounds good. I was very naive. So there's a genius in what he's doing, like playing the wrong
Oh yeah.
notes. So anyway, you know what I mean.
Sure.
But that's what pushed me. I said that gave me the okay. It's okay to think differently. You don't need to have like an intro, a chorus, a bridge, and have like the typical. And then it's time for the solo. Then we come back with the bridge, and you know the typical songwriting. I could do whatever I want. I can write the way I want, and it's the way I write. It's more like a scene in a movie or a movie. There's some movement and some parts and some the showdown at the end, and that's the way. That's the experimental part. And if you watch the first one, well, there's a lyric video too that I made in 2012, and right there, the video was as important at the time as the music. I had images in my head. It was a story, and I was trying to piece it together. I'm a graphic designer. That's what I do for a living, and video editing. So I said, okay, I'm gonna build something with this. So it's the concept of the old project that is experimental. It means I don't need to stick to the formula of songs, and so that's why all I do is long songs. First one was 46 minutes long. Second one was 50 minutes. Yeah, that's one was 34. And after, no, 36, 34, and this one is 34. I like I narrow it down to 30 something. I like that format. I can tell the story I want. It's not too long to make.
Yeah.
It's not too costly when I pay the drummer. Because drummers are the challenge and
Sure.
my love hate relationship with drummers and drumming. And but if you listen to, let's say, um, the first album, there's quite a few long parts where it's just synths and experimental, more like music soundtracks. So that's the experimental part. Then I go back to death metal. Song structures. I'm not strong on choruses. It's just a flow that just keep going. I'm trying to give an experience. I'm trying to take you somewhere.
Movements.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
in a way, what I make is more like music. You sit in your living room and you try the experience I'm
Sure.
trying to give you. That was the goal. Now,
Yeah.
if you go to the fourth album, though, okay, it's most of it is ambient music with like some doom parts. There's no fast part. So this one is really experimental. If you listen to this one, probably if you ask this question, it's because you did not hear this album yet. So if you listen to this album now, before I was the same album was experimental and death metal was blended together. And for those two last albums, I decided to split them. So one is almost like movie music, and the other one is just death metal. On the last album, there's nothing experimental beside the fact that it's a weird song structure, kind of voivod type of, okay, oh, I'm going there. Okay, now I'm going there. Oh, gee. And it just keeps going. And I like the experimental part on this one. I would say it's mostly the lyric video,
Gotcha.
which is kind of to complete the whole package, the whole experience. Um, I wish people would just watch it and listen to it at the same time. I know it's not the replay value is hard, but I mean, at least I would like people to first watch the lyric video to understand where I'm going with this. And after that, maybe, oh, now after they watch I want to give the full experience. Some people say, oh, I want to make music and it's going to bring images to in people's mind. I control what I want you to see. That's the full package.
I
Does that answer your
oh,
experimental?
absolutely.
But I'm
That's
sure it turns people off. A lot of what I do, I'm sure it's a hard sell. I mean, long songs, not much choruses. You can't hear what I'm singing. Videos that just keep blasting you like almost Clockwork Orange style. It's a tough one.
Clockwork Orange.
So that's why I don't do this for a living. I've got a job because that's a passion project. When I do exactly what I want, so I don't have to answer to anyone, even now the drummer. So I just pay him, and it gives me what I want, and that's it. It's not a democracy. It's
Gotcha.
a dictatorship.
I I fully understand, and because I can definitely relate to that situation and sentiment. Uh,
I'm sure.
I'll touch on that in a second.
Yeah.
Um, Several things I wanted to touch on there. Uh, as far as the lyric video, I definitely need to go back. I had it playing while I was driving around running errands and just listening to it like on an afternoon. Yeah, yeah. I was like,
That's all.
now I need to go back and actually give it my full undivided attention because now I'm just and I enjoyed it, but now I'm intrigued. I want to deep dive mentally more into it. Um, so I also encourage anybody watching this to do the same. Uh, get a beer or coffee, whatever your vice is.
Yeah. I was gonna say that. Uh, I don't smoke weed much anymore. I used to, but what I would say is that that's probably can it can enhance the experience, or it can make you freak out and go into panic attack because I'm blasting stuff nonstop.
Sure.
And yeah,
Um, I can definitely sympathize though with your overall situation. So, a quick history lesson. If I'm not mistaken, band was formed in '91. You guys actually went out and playing gigs, and then around '95, you decided to make it a studio project, and that's
yeah,
just how it
that's
stayed
good.
ever since.
No, not exactly.
Okay.
95, I decided to call it quit. Not call it quit, but shelve the one of the guy I was in Pearl Jam, and he didn't really care about metal. And at
Ah,
the time, we were a trash metal band,
okay.
and I wanted to go after Morbid Angel and Carcass and Death and all the extreme metal bands that were coming out. I wanted to jump like more to death metal. And the other ones, like, they didn't really want to do this. The drummer was up for it, but at this time also, I moved to further from the other guys, and I was starting my graphic design career. So I just decided, okay, I don't have time for this. And at the time, the singer and bass player was just high all the time. It just couldn't get shit done. So I decided to, all right, you know what? And at the time, we recorded demos with on tape, you know. So we had to rent the equipment. It was expensive. It was not like today; it's all out there, you know.
Yeah.
Someone motivated can do that on an iPad. At the time, that was not the case. So I just started working, and for 10 years, I was just Photoshop, video editing, and then I discovered that, oh, Pro Tools. Oh, you can do stuff with this. So not necessarily Pro Tools, but this recording software. And I decided at some point to start over. And one of my friends just helped me start get like an audio interface and start like installing softwares. So I started recording and kind of toying with the idea of making an album by myself. And I contacted the drummer that I had at the time. So on the first album, he's playing on it. Uh, that was a long process because I was learning, recording, and mixing. I was not mixing, but playing a bit with it. Someone else mixed the first one. Um, it was a challenge, but more and more I was starting to get used to it. So after I released Alpha Beta, the first album, I was like, okay, I like to do this. I like the long song thing, and I like the process of recording. So I said, you know what, that's gonna be my hobby now. So that's what I do. So I started basically in 2005. I started to toy with the idea of making it. So started to buy equipment, but the album just came out a long time later in 2012. So it took me some time. It's also I was doing the video whenever I had time on the side.
Hmm.
So for me, it was both at the same time to bring that to experimental. It's just the video was as important as the audio for me. I was making a movie in my mind.
Yeah.
Now it's today, 12 years later, it looks like a 12 years later video. But for me, in my mind, when I was making it, I was making a movie.
Sure. Um, do you think you could ever see taking this and doing a live project again, or a live performing iteration of the project again? It's all
No,
behind you.
no, it's behind me for multiple reasons. Now I have a family, and that's one of the reason. I could make it work with a family. Many do, but like a decade of snowboarding and skateboarding just messed up my back. So when you start playing live, even if it's a gig or two, it's the same amount of work, practicing and rehearsing, getting everything ready, getting everyone in the same room. Oh, man, I don't have the patience for that anymore. I'm not there in my life. And once you do all this, you go through all the trouble of like getting everyone in the room and doing your bidding, because that's my project, that's my band. So I need to have people who agree to do this. And then do what? Like an entire album live, nonstop, kill everyone on stage, It's a tough sell, man. Who am I going to convince to do this? So first, that's one of the things. Second, then if you go through all the trouble of getting your shit together and performing live, yeah, you better take that on tour, because it's the same amount of work for one show. So you go on tour, have a bad back, bad neck. I need a good bed. I can't just go on tour with a bunch
Right.
of smelly dudes. My standards of life are not there. Man, I fully respect and the grind. When I hear it on tour bus, invaders, I see this. It's just, oh, and for me, that's an horror story. I would never want to be in that situation. No, I like the comfort of home. I like recording. That's why I have a midless guitar, because also it's easy. I move around. Okay, I want to go play with a guitar. How many times did I bump the head stuck everywhere? So I kind of tailored the whole project to my comfort.
Yeah.
And that's, if I'm going to put some time on a live gig, I'll just make other albums instead. I can't pump them fast enough. I have 2 hours of material I need to sort through and make albums with. And if I don't sometimes dare touching the guitar, it's just, I come up with new riff. Fuck, I want to record another album with this. There's no end to it. So,
Yeah.
so I've got a lot of ideas. I think fast, speak fast, too fast sometimes, and I need to produce. So when are you gonna go? For me, it's the creative aspect. Live is just, I would not say showing off, but it's just like, all right, okay, now let's go show what we can do. that's a bit why I did the full album uh, playthrough video with the third album, because people, I want to see you play. We want to see you play. All right, I'll make a full album guitar and drum video. Here, that's my live gig. Take it or leave it. That's what I have to give. On the other side of the spectrum, if you don't play live, basically your audience is never gonna grow, or it's gonna be very slow, because
Yeah.
that's where people find out about you. They heard you live. Oh man, I love this. I want to listen to the albums. And not playing live, well, two things happen. That people don't discover you, and two, well, some people, they don't take you seriously. That's just like a bedroom player. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. And I sympathize with that too.
You in the same
Uh,
situation?
yeah. Um, so the project we spoke of, the Nephilim Fall,
Mm,
um, that came out of, I had started a family. I was in a gigging thrash metal band, uh, for a while, and everybody was kind of just life happening to everybody all at once, including me and my wife. We had our first son. So it was just kind of, it's what happens.
mm,
Fast forward a couple years, I start to get some, I get a affordable desktop and have some cheap pieces of gear and just enough stuff to where I can start recording and at least writing some
mm,
ideas and being creative. So it kind of became my outlet. I would just demo and write songs all the time with Easy Drummer.
mm,
Um, and then that first EP was my first venture. Is like, you know what? I'm going to actually focus on a specific style and just release at least just an EP. And it's my programmed drums. I recorded the guitars and bass. I wrote lyrics and did some scratch vocal tracks, and then had my buddy, who's a better vocalist than me, do the vocals. Um,
mm,
I mixed it, and then he mastered it, and that was it. That was just two guys were the entirety of the personnel. For the new EP we're working on, brought back my same buddy, Jason Baker's his name, which he is a mixing engineer for anybody looking for work to be done. And then I have a buddy named Lucas Beater. I asked him to be the drummer on it. I wrote everything out in Easy Drummer 2 again, but
mm,
he learned everything and then just kind of embellished on like some fills and accents here and there. Let him kind of make it his own.
mm,
Um, so I guess technically, uh, it's even though I still did the core songwriting and I still wrote lyrics and all that, um, it's more of a three-man project than it was before.
mm.
A little bit more of a collaborative effort. Um, with that said, we will not be playing shows live because two of
Same
us,
reason.
yeah, a lot of the same reason. Um, Jason lives in another state, and then me and Lucas are here in West Virginia, but we're all so busy. We all have families, careers,
Yeah.
and conflicting schedules. It's not going to happen, and un- it would have to be a miracle, like some kind of miracle opera drop in our lap that we couldn't say no and could supplement us and our families, and I don't see that happening.
Mm. I've got some offers to play live. It's just yeah, refused.
Sure. I
But
mean, yeah,
I mean, to make money touring as a death metal band, underground death metal band,
yeah.
fuck. And
And
shit, I just need 1 week, and in 1 week I could make what I would make in an entire summer.
it's the sad reality. I
Yeah.
I feel like it's becoming I feel like it's becoming a little bit more the norm too. Um like
Yeah.
I've even had some guests on here. I had just in recent memory, um, Eric Alper from the band Replacire.
I saw the interview.
Yeah, they're not a gigging band at all.
Mhm.
Totally studio project, and I
Well,
know.
Bandcamp is full
Oh
of
yeah,
this.
oh yeah. Um, and yeah, I feel like we're only going to see more of that because home recording is getting better and more affordable every year.
And you know what is going to get even worse, because not worse, but even more, because now you still need to mix stuff,
Yeah.
very, very soon, or it's already has started piece by piece. But you're just going to put your thing, you're going to send it into a software, you're going to put a couple of tracks you like, and you say, make it sound like this. Drums like, oh, this album, Suffocation, is okay, vocals like Morbid Angel, Covenant, and I want like, and then it's just gonna process an AI thing, and then it's gonna shit your mix. You're gonna just move the fader, and that's it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that because I don't really like mixing. Like you said, that's one thing that you find challenging, and oh me, I just hate it. I just do it. It's a necessity,
Sure.
and I don't want to put more money into this already. It's already like a bottomless pit of expenses. So I keep the money for where it matters. If I need to put some money, I buy and I flip some gear. I buy gear. That's how I build most of the studio. But that's another thing. It's money that, like, you're gonna go on tour, cost money. Most of the little bands, they pay to tour. They some you want to be on a festival, it's the contest, or it's just, fuck, man. I don't want to do this, and it's probably the same for you.
Yeah. Um, and frankly, it's just I know it's not going to pay my mortgage or my bills
Yeah.
and got kids to feed. It's just too
Oh, it could, but you're gonna do it for 15 years to get maybe to the level of dying fetus or something if you're really highly motivated.
yeah.
Well,
And
I'm sure they pay their bills now, but they're touring constantly. I'm sure if they have kids, they've never seen that. Oh, what's the name of this one?
yeah, yeah, it's just not the life for me at this point.
That's not the way. Also, I want my daughter to grow up. So, but look, people will do what they want. I like that some bands do it because I love to go
Sure.
see gigs. But me, I don't want to do it.
I I
But
think it's
for some
just
of them, staying in front of a computer all day like I do, they can't do that.
oh
So
yeah.
it depends what kind of life you want.
Yeah. I mean that's it's just it's funny enough. It's kind of zooming out a little bit. I mean, that's why some guys, you know, they're completely fine at a desk job and then other guys go work on an oil rig for like a month
Yeah,
on, then a month off kind of I mean, it's just people are
I'm
just
not a
built
man
built
enough to do
different.
this.
I
I
I could
wouldn't last a month, that's for sure. Or maybe not even a week.
it's one of those things that maybe if I had found it earlier on in life, but it's like I'm just selfish. I want to be around my kids and my wife too much. You know what I mean?
That's not selfish. That's just personal choice.
Sure. But
Mm.
well, kind of we'll just kind of circle back around a little bit towards just gear and equipment in general.
Mm-hmm.
Um is there any kind of problem solver kind of thing that you're looking for right now? Like in general, like your overall either recording situation, is there guitar wise, is there maybe you want to do a second guitar that maybe something you've learned from building the last one, you'd like to do a second one to change one or two little details?
Yes, I'd like to have another one, maybe for a different pickup, because now I have Invaders, Seymour Duncan Invaders in all my guitars.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an Invader guy, but I also like the Nazgul. I
Yeah,
like to have one with a Nazgul and probably a different wood, more for an aesthetic reason. I like to, because I believe that every instrument have riffs like stored
sure.
in them, and once in a while when something's not working with the OB1K I have here, like I have an OB 2K. So I can just like, all right, what do you have today? Different kind of wood.
Yeah.
Uh, I would change a few things on the look, the shape. I would like to have a different type of neck. I like the feel of the wood, and I like something like what it's called, not rosewood, but some dark, very dark wood where the pores are very, very
Oh, like
deep.
Wenge.
Yeah, the entire thing, but a
Oh
couple of
yeah.
strips. I would love that. I like the feel of that. Touch a guitar like this one. I was like, oh man, my next one, that's what I would do. And slowly I'm selling all the other ones. I have many other ones that I can show you.
Sure.
Hold on now. That's the main bass I'm using for recording. Ibanez EHB something. I'm not
Nice.
good with numbers. Uh, I like guitars with one pickup, so that's why I'm slowly gonna sell the others. So yeah, this one, it's an Ibanez Prestige.
Hmm.
This I used this one on 3 albums, and I retired it when I got the headless. That's an old made in Japan Ibanez RG 56570,
Hmm.
and I made the first album with this cheap guitar, and it was like a $300 guitar. And there I'm working on a kit. Uh, I bought a kit. I wanted to do it, and so that's the part of the. So okay, where was I going with this?
I think
Maybe I
we're just
just
kind of
wanted to show.
showcasing the different guitars.
Yeah, I just wanted to show some guitars.
Sure.
Well, I like to have another one. Other problems I'm trying to solve. Well, it's the tone next thing I need to figure out. And now I already have the pedal. But when I saw they released the small one, the have you seen that? The Tone X1, the small pedal?
Yeah. Yeah, the little
Yeah,
mini
I'm
one.
actually thinking of selling those two now and getting those. What I would like is one that is stereo. So because I bought two because I'm running with the Mimic, I'm running in stereo. So I'd love to, you know, get a one unit that is stereo like in and out.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist at the moment. So I need to figure this out. So I have the gear. It's just I need to implement them in my rig. What else?
Um, yeah, I haven't. I've watched videos on the Tonex stuff. I'm kind of surprised that the full Tonex pedal doesn't have like stereo options. That's kind of surprising to me.
I think that's probably the next move. They're gonna release the Tone X Pro or something with a big pedal board and the volume expression pedal and everything. I think that's the next, and probably a rack mount one. That they will slowly release them. That's
Mhm.
my prediction. Um, Most likely, it's not gonna be able to do what I want. Is that I want stereo in front too, in, not just out. Often it's like the camper. If I want to do what I'm doing, I need two campers. The one that does it is the Axe-FX. But oh man, I look at this, it's just like trying to program a VCR or something. I just don't want to mess with this. It's too much for what I want. I just want two rectifiers, two boosts, two different cabs in stereo, and I feel this thing is overkill for what I'm doing. So that's why I felt the Tone X was perfect for that. And I found a guy. What I wanted is were like presets of Mesa, what is it called, the Badlander.
Hmm.
So I found a guy on the internet on YouTube, and I sent him a message, and he said, "Hey," he told me, "Hey," I told him, "Hey, have you tried a Badlander?" He said, "Yeah, I have one." And he had one with exactly what I wanted, like 6L6s. And said, if you want, I'll make you profiles. So I said, what mics do you want? And he had a bunch of mics. So basically, he made me three my dream profiles,
Oh wow.
and not. And if you go on the Tonex Tone Net called it's called Tone Net thing, and you search for Simlev, you can find them. They're amazing. And
Hell
so
yeah.
basically, that's what I'm gonna use for the next album. I
Sure.
wanted to use it for Tita. I just my mix was already done, and I was like, oh man, introducing a new sound at this point is just it's too much. I just want to release the album. At some point, when I decide that okay, I've done everything I could, everything I do now seems to make everything worse. It just now need to release. It's
Mm, gotcha.
because I'm sure you had the same problem. It's like when do you release something is always a question, and when is it ready? And then you start in digging rabbit holes and just like going deep and deep, and then and then I'm gonna need to change this. Maybe there's something I didn't change, and you look at more tutorials, and man,
Yeah, it definitely gets to a point to where I almost have to like cover my eyes and just say nope, 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 nope. It's done. It's done. Just
yeah,
put it out. And
even
then I pick it apart later.
I released, I published the lyric video, and the next day I was checking for something on the lyrics. I let it go, and then I started watching it, and then I spotted a typo in one of the lyrics. Oh
Oh.
fuck! No, now I'm gonna have to live with this. It's saying disciple, and there's an extra I there. Oh man, now I can't unsee this.
Hmm,
Fuck. And was ready. I released it.
sure. Yeah.
Part of the process.
I, back in the day, uh, like pre-internet, if you had just put that in a lyric sheet, somebody probably would have like read that and thought like way too deep into it. Like,
Oh,
I
he's
don't know.
trying to send us a message.
Yeah, like I don't know,
Yeah.
just make come up with some kind of crazy that I miss those days where people just have the craziest conspiracy theories behind albums and bands
Yeah.
and lyrics and themes. You don't really get that anymore because you can always just like go on YouTube or see like a TikTok or reel or something where everybody just tells you everything. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Back in the 80s when I was listening to Maiden, and there was nothing. You had a magazine and that was it. You had most didn't even put lyric sheets in the cassette. Uh, and that was it. You
Yeah.
didn't see anything, and metal was not that popular to the point where we didn't have MTV. Uh, like it was everyone was so mysterious. Everything was mysterious. Everything was
Yeah.
strange, and you didn't know. All you had, let's say, is okay. I see James Hetfield on this picture, and I've never heard him speak. Never saw another angle, or that's it. That's the guy is just frozen in time. That picture. There's kind of a mysticism to this,
Yeah.
which is gone now. But honestly, I don't miss that time.
Yeah.
I don't miss the 80s and the 70s and the
I,
90s were good. I like the 90s
sure.
better. I feel like a lot of stuff was new, fresh. Access was easier. I was getting older, so also I could just go to stores. And
Sure.
as a kid, you kind of limited to whatever your parents bring you to.
Right. Um, I will say one musician from the 90s who I feel like has done a pretty good job of keeping up. I mean, I guess a little bit of the ghost has been given up as far as a lot of gear secrets, but Trey Azagthoth from Morbid Angel he
Mm-hmm.
still has a level of mystique about him, a
Yeah.
level of mystery just because he's such a quirky guy and never really does interviews, never, uh
Well, lately, I think it's last year, I stumbled upon a video, and then this mystery just went out the window.
oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he's been arrested for DUI, and the dash cam is catching the entire conversation with the cops. Man, that's fucked up.
I think I saw some like excerpts from that, but I hadn't really looked too much into. I'll have to go
I
look it
don't
up
look
now.
into it. Now,
No.
maybe I should not tell you, but don't look into it. For me, it ruined the mystery. It
Mm,
was kind of strange. I saw them so many times. It was like air in the face. It just, whoa, so weird.
Mhm.
And I saw them at the Domination tour. Oh, it's awesome.
He also has a YouTube channel.
Oh, I don't want to see this. I'm
Well, it's I think Zach
so
from out
strange. Now he's passing out on stage, and it's just like, no, he's. I think he's off the rails.
supposedly that was dehydration, but I'm not sure. But uh
Apparently, he takes a lot of acid on stage.
oh, okay.
Uh,
Uh well,
but what do I know? Like, I'm not there,
sure.
and that doesn't remove anything from his genius. I love his work. So
Oh yeah. One of
the
the goats.
I remember when I've heard when Covenant came out. Okay, that was a weird time in my life. It's like, okay, I was still stuck in trash metal, and I never really got into death metal much. And then I heard Rapture. Oh
Hmm.
man, I think for 2 months on loop, I just listened to that song, just that song. That is also one of my main inspiration. When I heard this, I was like, okay, shit, I need to snap out of trash. Now I'm done with trash. I need like tremolo picking, and now it's
Right.
just basically all I'm doing is playing Rapture over and over again.
Hell yeah.
Albums
Well,
after album.
that might be a good transition into my last question because I think
Sure.
it'll be one of your answers. And that is just your top four or your Mount Rushmore of death metal bands and or albums, whichever is easier.
I work with albums. I'm an album guy.
Sure.
I mean, rarely I would like an album if there's a few duds on it. I like an album for me is sacred. For instance, I'll give you an example. I love the manufacturer of Fear Factory,
Hmm.
but the cover of what is the cover? Is it cars or something
Yeah.
on it?
Yeah.
Okay, that kills me right in the middle. That you can't do that. Now I need to burn myself a C. I needed to burn myself a copy without that song, you know. And they did the same shit with the Dog Day Afternoon or something. Oh, I couldn't do this. So it's I'm an album guy, so just one song could ruin an album for me. You just take me somewhere. I like an experience, and if suddenly there's like a little jingle in the middle, okay, I can't do that. So to answer your question, stuff. Because what is tough about this question is that do I go with the classics or more modern that over time I started to listen more? For instance, I could say Power Slave, Iron Maiden. Like when this album came out, it just changed my life. It's like I liked at the time Number of the Beast, but I was like a casual fan. But when Power Slave came out, longer songs, like a concept more. Uh, oh, that was my album for years. That was my favorite album. So I would put that there. But now I listen to it today. It's like, oh man, it's a classic, but doesn't keep up with other stuff I like. So I would avoid for my number one album is Injustice for All, Metallica.
Okay.
I know there's no bass on it. Doesn't matter. When this came out, I remember just what the fuck is that guitar sound? I, I wanted a guitar when I heard this, so that album changed my life. Second album, Voivod, Dimension Atras.
Okay.
So another album changed my life. It was, oh shit, you can do that, like I mentioned earlier. Third album, Nile, in their darkened shrines
Hell yeah.
with Tony Laureano on drums. Like, oh shit, this is Death, Individual Thought Pattern.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I know a lot of people would go with Human, but that's mine. After that, oh man, last one. Uh, fuck, I can't think of anything. Shit, I know the interview is going to be finished. I'm like, oh fuck, I didn't say this, I didn't say that. Probably Morbid Angel Covenant.
I was so curious about your fourth answer because it's funny. Every every band that you mentioned, if you look at their entire catalog, their entire discography, each band you mentioned, it's almost like Morbid Angel, for example, from record to record, sometimes, oh, and especially Death and like all of them, their entire catalog, like from one point to another, could almost be different bands. Like
Yeah,
how diverse their discographies are. Every single band you mentioned, and it's like, well, I guess Nile's a bit of an exception, but there are people
yeah.
that are,
Nile is pretty stable.
yeah, but it as consistent as I think most people would agree, they do have such a strong following that feels very strongly about their favorite album. Like, and Carl has talked about it, how they've gotten backlash over specific albums and like
Mhm.
adding new stuff, changing certain things, and people have very strong reactions. Um,
Yeah,
so it's almost like one of the, like almost like gatekeeping. Like people will judge over which album you choose from any of these bands.
yeah,
Morbid can be very divisive. It's usually in either the
yeah.
Tucker or Vincent camp. Um,
I, I like some of the Tucker stuff too. I'm not that difficult on a morbid front. My only problem, even the loose anus something, there's at least four good songs on it. If you
yeah,
remove, they're not very good at the electronic stuff, but there's some good
yeah,
stuff on it. I think it's was judged harshly, but rightfully so.
sure, yeah,
My biggest I have more problems with the other album, Kingdom Disdain, where I just hate the sound. I just can't listen to it. I don't hear the guitars. I feel the guitars are just gone. So that's a bummer for me. It's like, oh shit, okay, I can feel the songs are good, but I can't appreciate it. I need like louder guitars
every time I've tried to put on Kingdoms Disdained, it doesn't really grab me. I don't know what it is.
because
Maybe
you can't hear the melodies of the guitar or the notes. It's just like a mess of
probably.
in the background. And the same for me is I tried, but fuck, okay, I can't. Loud vocals, loud kick, and that's it. The rest is just kind of a buzz in the middle.
Hmm.
It's too bad.
Yeah.
When are you a Voivod fan?
Yeah. My favorite's probably Killing Technology. Um,
Mm,
I guess it's kind
great
of one of the
album.
more straightforward albums.
It's their transition album between the more trashy and prog and the punk.
Yeah.
Usually, I'm not a big fan of punk. I can listen to some hardcore, but when it's too on the punk side, I like more the tightness of like metal.
Sure.
So I cannot say I'm a huge fan of the early the two albums, Roar, War and Pain. Then Killing Technology was a great one. It's like, oh shit, okay, but I discovered it afterward. I was ready for it. At the time, it was
Gotcha.
a bit too trashy for me, and then after that, okay, well, now appreciate it. I understand it better.
Yeah.
But after that, I like everything after, even the softer stuff. Or I'm a huge fan, so I
Oh
saw
yeah.
them countless times live since the 80s.
Yeah. I uh I think that's a lot of bands that have had a pretty wide discography. I always tend to gravitate towards an album that's somewhere in like a sweet spot of their transition.
Yeah.
Like
Or there's a level of maturity, or now they know exactly where they're going.
but they haven't completely left their roots yet.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Like Injustice for All, that's the best example.
yeah,
Like there's a breakup between Injustice and the Black Album where,
hmm,
okay, it's two different bands now. Now
sure,
we're in different territory. And after that, for me, it just went off the rails. So
right. Um,
that was the death of thrash metal for me.
yeah,
The Black Album, well, there's some decent songs. I cannot say that back in the day I hated it, but I don't know. If I never hear that album again in my life, I'll be fine. I like Sad But True. It's a catchy song, but it's a different band. It's not in the
Yeah,
it's not in the category of Justice. And after that, yeah, they
that's fair.
tried doing some stuff. It's a few good riffs here and there, but overall, they make their songs for a live setting,
Hmm.
which is something that, to bring it back to the live question, there's some bands when I hear them, is like, okay, this is a great band live, like Lamb of God, but I would never see myself listening to this like in a couch. This is to like make people move. Slipknot is another one like this. To the complete opposite, I write completely not for a live setting. Like I would
Sure.
bore people. It's just the chorus comes back 20 minutes later. That's not good for a live setting. This would not Krokmiten would not work in a live setting.
Mm.
But some albums I listen to them. Oh yeah, that'd be great live. Like Amon Mart, that's a great live band. I would never listen to this at home.
Well, I think you would be surprised because I've seen Gorguts live, and
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that their music is probably could be in that same mindset. Like it's something that you
Yeah.
sit and actually consume and listen to, and you kind of mentally deep dive. And it works really well in a live setting.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're great live.
Yeah,
So
but they don't have 30-minute songs.
actually, they do. They that I don't know if you would call it an album or an EP, but it's just one long song and it's like 30 minutes, I think. The
I was a big fan at the time of Considered Dead, and
yeah.
uh, I saw them many times live locally because at
Hmm.
the time they were more likely like a live a local band. They
Yeah.
were opener for everyone. Like they opened for Death. I saw them live before Death. That was the what is called the tour is a symbolic tour,
Yeah.
and that was great. But at the time, they were not the same band. They were
Sure.
completely different. Because after Negativa came out, that's basically when they started to go like tech death metal.
Hmm.
At the time, it was just an old school death metal band. Well, it was not called old
Yeah.
school at the time, but
Traditional, maybe.
yeah, yeah, traditional, or maybe like more the OG kind of
Yeah,
death
yeah.
metal.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. Pleiades Dust. It was their last release.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you got to check it out or not, but I mean, it was pretty cool.
No,
It's like a cool concept piece. Um, it's kind of like Meshuggah's Catch 33. Is that the one where is this one long song?
yeah,
I think so. Something like that. But yeah.
I I strangely I don't listen to that much stuff anymore since now I live in my head with my own music. I'm
Sure.
always piecing something together. Now I listen to other stuff. It's just kind of a distraction. It's just pauses what I have in my mind already, or sometimes everything plays at the same time. It's hard to explain. Sounds crazy, but for extended periods of time, I can't listen to anything.
Gotcha.
It just conflicts with my own thoughts.
Right.
And during that time, when this happens, is I miss a lot of stuff. Stuff pass by, and I don't check anything. And at some point, oh shit, there's two new Gorguts album I need to check out. you know.
Right. Well, man, think it's I think we've about run out of time here, but want to thank you so much for coming on the show and chat with me. This has been a blast.
Mhm.
Um, I'm probably gonna go upstairs and watch the lyric video now.
I
Uh,
recommend it. Take 34 minutes of your time,
sure.
watch it with your Bible in your hand, your
Sure.
crucifix.
Absolutely. Some every now and then anoint with some holy water.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, the power of Christ compels you.
Well, man, before we hop off here, the floor is yours if you want to just go ahead and plug to the audience real quick.
Yeah, so I've got a new album out called Tita. I recommend you watch the lyric video for it. I put a lot of time on this and think it's a perfect companion to bring the intensity a notch from normally just listening to an album. It's on krokmiten.com. I suppose we're going to put a link and it's there so you can find the YouTube. It's also the album is on Spotify, iTunes, blah 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 blah. And that's it. I'm already working on the next one, so it's just back to back. My goal is to make 10. So
Killer. And yeah, for those watching on YouTube, which is where this is going, all links will be down in the description below.
mhm.
And yeah, Simlev, thank you again, man.
Yeah, my pleasure, Ryan.
Cool.
Thank
Everybody,
you for doing this. All right, man.
absolutely, man. We'll have to have you back on for the next one or something.
Yeah, sure. Can make it a thing. I don't
Hell
mind.
yeah. Hell
Okay.
yeah. Thank you
All
guys.
right.
We'll see you later.